Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to #Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informative, intriguing, and modern podcasts. Many thanks to #PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scott Albertson of #Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let #Paul Ponders begin. Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. And I'm very fortunate to have a longtime friend from Malden, Massachusetts, Mr. Jerry Leone, on as our guest. Jerry's been involved in many civic activities, and he's been involved in politics, and he's really a man about town if you know Malden, Massachusetts. And it's one of those things that sometimes people have very unique hobbies that you never really think they have or anyone is involved with and all. But our guest this evening, Mr. Jerry Leone, is going to talk to us about his very special hobby. But first, I want to welcome Jerry. Jerry, welcome.
Paul, thank you for having me on. Very excited.
Oh, absolutely. It really is great having you on. And through the years, we've chatted about your many travels overseas, and you said that you particularly like Belgium. So I said, Jerry, why do you like Belgium? And you said, well, I have a hobby, and it's about Trappist beer. So, Jerry, what exactly is a Trappist beer, and what makes it different from any other beer?
Trappist beers are very unique. They are brewed primarily by Trappist monks. Now, Trappist monks are an order of Cistercian monks who broke away in the medieval times from the Benedictine order, but they have very strict rules that they follow. And so, unfortunately, Trappist beers are unique because the sad thing about it is they'll eventually go extinct because once all the monks die off and if no one joins the orderhood, then that'll be an extinct beer. They have Abbey ales, which are different. People usually confuse Abbey ales with Trappist beers. Abbey ales are actual monasteries or monasteries that license out to breweries to produce a monastic beer, and I'll get into what makes there's rules that have to be in place for a beer to become a Trappist beer. So the very strict rules are, number one, the beer has to be brewed within the walls of a monastery. Step two, it's going to be overseen. Some monasteries have working monks that do this, and some have monks that supervise. So step two, it has to be supervised by the monks. And then step three, whatever money the monastery makes on the sale of the beer, they donate at least 51% to the community or charities. They only keep the amount of money they need to keep the operation going, and the rest, it's over 51%. So there's an international Trappist association that began in the 90s, so the monks can protect themselves. And when a monastery wants to apply for this membership, they fill out an application. The ITA, which it's called, the association, will send representatives to that monastery and brewery, and when they see all three of those strict rules met, they'll get a stamp in the bottle. I wish if I knew, I would have had a bottle, but a bottle Trappist beer will have a stamp on it. They'll say international product, and that doesn't mean Trappist monasteries don't. They sometimes do chocolate, bread, preserves. Like there's a Trappist monastery here in Massachusetts, out in Spencer, Mass. They were the only American Trappist beer in the world, but unfortunately, because of COVID and low sales, and a lot of young people don't know about Trappist beers, they decided to shut down their brewing operations and sell their equipment to Trillium. And I still have some bottles left that are unopened, but they were the only American a Trappist beer in the country. There's now, I don't know if that was one of the questions you were going to ask about how many are there. I don't want to jump ahead.
Absolutely. No, this is all good, Jerry. We're playing off of each other really well. But how many Trappist breweries are there in the world today, and where are they located outside of the United States?
Now there is, unfortunately, there's 10 left in the world. Recently, the one in Massachusetts closed. The one in Austria closed. There used to be 2 in the Netherlands. Now there's 1. The one that closed was called Zundert. The last monk passed away. The only one that's in the Netherlands is La Trappe. I was fortunate enough to go visit that monastery a couple years ago in the Netherlands. So you have 1 in the Netherlands. There's 5 left in Belgium. There is 1 in Italy outside of Rome where the monks put eucalyptus in that beer. It's called Tre Fontana. It means they got the idea because when John the Baptist was beheaded, his head supposedly bounced in 3 spots, and where his head hit the ground, fountains sprung up, so they call it that. And you have the 5 in Belgium, 1 in the Netherlands, 1 in Italy. I'm drawing a blank on one of them. I had this all set up, and it was always easy to me. There's 10, but 8 carry the stamp, and the reason why the other 2 do not carry the stamp, they're officially Trappist beers, but they're made outside of the brewery. There's 1 in Spain that the beer is made outside of that monastery, and there's 1 from France, but it's made by one of the Trappist breweries in Belgium. So there's 8. There's 10. There's 10 recognized Trappist beers left, and then there's only 8 have the stamp. Oh, I'm sorry. The one that I was missing was a couple years ago. The UK had one. It's called Tint Meadow. It's the only Trappist beer in the UK. So those are the 10. And again, 8 have the stamp and 2 don't.
Interesting. Now, I had first experienced the Trappist beer way back when, BITD, when I was a food and beverage manager at the end. It was called the Bank of America Pavilion, and we had carried a Trappist ale, and I really have not sampled a Trappist beer at all. But if someone has never had a Trappist beer, like myself, Which three would you recommend they try first and why?
That's a very good question. The ones that are available in the U.S., like Total Wine or Cappies or independent bottle shops in the area, you'll find the most popular one is my favorite, and the reason why it's my favorite is it's because it's the first Trappist beer I ever experienced in Belgium. It's Chimay. Um, Very popular in this country. They only have three kinds, and then the other two they don't sell. You have to get them, either order them online at a specific, website, or you have to go to Belgium. And the first one is the first out of the five is the Chimay Rouge, Chimay Red. It's a red label. They call it Premier because it was the first one they ever made. Um, then in the 50s, they came out with a Christmas one, Chimay Blue, and it was so popular they decided to actually keep it on the line. They have a blonde, it's a triple. It's called Chimay 5 Cent, and it's a white label. So the red is 7%, the blonde is 8%, the blue is 9%, and then they have a dory. It's gold. That's the specific one that the monks drink, and that's 4.5%. And then when that monastery turned 150 years old, they came out with Chimay Verde. It's a green label, and that's 10%. So you have double the Trappist monks are the ones that came up with that double, triple, and quad. They used to mark X's on the barrels in the medieval times. That's how they would determine the strength. And Trappist beers are they're very strong. The lowest ABV, the alcohol is a 7%, and the highest one is Rochefort. Rochefort is sold here. You can find it at that place in Malden Fine Wines. I just gave them a plug. Uh, they have an 11.2% Trappist beer, and it's made with uh, prunes and dates. I actually cloned a Trappist beer a few years ago. If I was a brewer, I couldn't sell it legally because I'm not a monk. So I'd have to label it. If I were to sell it, I'd have to label it as, a Trappist style. But the three, you'll find Westmalle is a very popular beer as well. That's the oldest out of the 10 out of the Trappist beers, the oldest that started brewing. And then you have considered many years in a row, Westvleteren 12. The bottle used to not have a label, but in Belgium passed a law that all beer have to have labels. That's considered the best beer in the world. That's not sold in the U.S. If I buy it online, it's this rare that the monks only make a certain amount. They stop for the year, and if you go to their monastery, you have to call ahead, and a monk literally comes out with a clipboard and copies down your license plate, and you're only allowed 2 cases. If I buy that beer online, it could cost me up to $70 a bottle. That's why I go to Belgium a lot, and I buy it there and bring it back. I bubble wrap them. I'm paying $14 American for that over there, and it's each. I have every Trappist, so I have every beer in Belgium. Belgium is the country with the most beers in the world. Every beer, believe it or not, has its own glass, which is called the chalice. And in Belgium, when you go to bars, if you order a certain beer, doesn't have to be a Trappist. If you order a certain beer and they don't have that glass available, they won't let you drink it. You can't get it. And people ask me all the time, how do you drink? Trappist beers to be enjoyed have to be in a certain glass. I mean, you can drink it. Worst comes to worst, put it in any glass, but to enjoy it, to bring the flavor out, it's got to be in a chalice.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, what are the biggest myths or misconceptions even people have about Trappist beers?
Well, some people say that they're too strong, but that's if you drink a lot of those. When you drink Trappist beers, locally where I go to drink a Trappist beer, I know one time a bar in Malden, Hugh O'Neill's had Chimay Red on tap. But to enjoy it, I have to go to Brookline at the Public House. That's a Belgian style restaurant, Belgian and German. And the bartender knows us when we come in. He literally, not kidding around, but between every couple of sips of a Trappist beer, you should be drinking water because let's just say that when you wake up the next morning, you either felt like you got hit by a truck or you want to get hit by a truck. It's that strong for someone who's not. And some of these flavors are an acquired taste, like Guinness. The Irish stout. That's considered a milk stout. But some Trappist beers taste light and they're heavy. So I guess that myth is probably true, or the misconception.
Interesting. Well, just as a quick aside, I think you want to pair that beer with maybe fish and chips made by the fish fryer or the chipmunk. I don't know. You may want to do that. You really should be having some food with that. But anyways, you've traveled to Belgium several times, and what has been your favorite Trappist monastery or brewery experience?
Well, like I mentioned, last time I was in Belgium was last November. I went the day after Thanksgiving to see the Christmas markets. I started seeing different Christmas markets in Europe. I'm actually going back to Belgium in November, but I'm bringing two of my childhood friends with me. One who I've traveled with before, and another one I haven't traveled with in 15 years. And the last time he ever went with me was one of the times I've been to Oktoberfest, like I've mentioned to you before. That's another passion, maybe another episode in the future. But when I brought him with me, that was the 200th anniversary of Oktoberfest back in 2010. I've been going to Oktoberfest since 1999. And 2 years ago was the first time I was back in 14 years, and that was my 9th visit. When you go to Belgium, unless you rent a car, some of these breweries Trappist monasteries are out of the way unless you're renting a car. But like I said earlier, the only one I went to was the only one left in the Netherlands, La Trappe.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Well, as we start to wind down, Jerry, I have to ask you, what is your favorite Trappist beer, and what is the proper way to taste and enjoy a Trappist beer?
My favorite is Chimay. Um, and if we have a couple of seconds left, I'll show you something cool. How you do it is when you're not ready to drink it, you store it somewhere cool, and then you put it in the refrigerator. About maybe 20 minutes before you drink it, you want to let it settle on the counter. Then you open it and you tilt the glass at a 45-degree angle, um, and you let it sit. The longer the Trappist sits as you drink it, it'll change its flavor profile. And when it gets warmer, it gets better. But the longer you age Trappist beers, the better they are. And as we close, I had emailed the monks at the monastery of Chimay to send me each of their different bottle caps. And I had a plaque made when I worked at the jeweler's building. Um, I'll try to show you, and I've had this made. These are all 5
Oh
of
my.
their
Oh, that is great.
yeah, with the fleur de
Wow.
lis.
That
Yeah.
is awesome.
Oh, as one
Our
as
listeners at home cannot see this, but that is one awesome plaque, and Chimay is spelled Chimay, correct?
correct. And I'll have
Awesome.
to, next time I see you, I'll have to bring you a bottle.
Okay, we'll have to maybe have a little sip or two, less than a pint, and we'll see. Maybe we'll pair it with the fish and chips.
Yeah, I'm in the process of getting my Cicerone program. That's the equivalent of instead of a sommelier for wine, a Cicerone is someone who is an expert in beer, and there's 4 steps. The last step, there's only 28 people in the world that have that. The first step is called a certified beer server. So once I'm certified, I can officially hold tastings.
Oh my. Well, we'll have to speak to our friends, I believe, over at the Craft Guild, about maybe bringing that on premise over at Pearl Street Station Restaurant. We'll have to see about that and all, and also for our listeners out there in Paul Ponder's land, check out one of the episodes that I had with the friend colleague Bill Hall and Allison Block. It was Beers Over Boston. But Jerry, I want to thank you for being on. And what's the best way for any listeners to contact you if they have any further questions about your Trappist beer collection?
Well, they can email me at Leone for Malden. That's LeoneForMalden @gmail.com, Leone for Malden. Or they can send me a text, 781-635-7070.
I like those numbers. Absolutely. Well, it's one of those things as we bid adieu here. I heard you talking about the 45-degree angle, about pouring the beer and just letting it settle. And to me, it's like a monk being deep in thought, and the beer is just really just settling, and it's settling to a point where it is to be nurtured and it is really to be enjoyed. And I want to thank you, Jerry Leone, for being on this episode and really elaborating, expounding upon your tremendous hobby. Really great to have you on, my friend.
Thank you. It was an honor to be on.
Absolutely. And with that, listeners, Jerry Leone, Trappist beer collection extraordinaire, soon to be one of 28 in the world, with a very special designation. #Indeed. I trust that you have enjoyed Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. #indeed.